Landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess, and would you quit staring at my ass? It's making me comfortable. But do me a favor and hit that like button or Skynet will become self-aware. And on our last live stream, we went in on the Worksharp RMX. So let's take a look at what we're holding, because it'll bother you if I don't. And you know I love you. So first things first, and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We have got the magnesium integral frame. We have got a button. Let's hit the button. It's in automatic mode right now. And we got, give or take, 3 inches of M390 steel. Okay, now that that's out of the way, we did our live stream on it. We put it through Cardboard Slayer, and we're going to go over that right now. So let's go ahead. We're going to go to the car hole, and we're going to take a look at the pile of cardboard that the factory edge did. So here you go. Welcome back to the car hole, and here we see the pile of cardboard generated by the factory edge on the RMX. Now this is mildly impressive, and we'll get into that in just a second when we go back to the tabletop. Okay, so that was actually a little bit impressive. Let's go over the timeline of what the factory edge did, and then we'll talk about it. So when we started at this, we had a 213 on the electronic edge tester, and we cut for an hour with it, and we hit a 446 at the center, a 383 at the center, a little bit farther back, and then towards the heel we hit a 322. So we went for our next hour, and we got at the 2-hour mark a 422 in the center, and then we found a 462 in the center. So we're right here. And of course, after the kind of wear we're putting on it, as you move back and forth a little bit, you'll see the numbers change because you're only testing an area as wide as the wire on the test clip is thick, which is why the numbers are kind of a little bit scattered. 15 more minutes, 2 hours and 15 minutes, we called it. The edge was totally roached. I believe we hit somewhere in the 600s, give or take, but we called it. Like I said, we just picked it and we cut, and we started getting this mess right here. This mess right here, we called it as a roached edge, but at that 2 hour and 15 minute mark, for the edge to get totally roached out like that is kind of impressive. All of the higher end or super steels or whatever you want to call them, they lasted about 30 to 40 minutes before doing that. This went 2 hours and 15 minutes. So for a higher end steel, that is a welcome change of pace. Now, we sharpened this thing and we got it down to a 115 on a 17 degree per side edge bevel. You can see how thick and shiny that bevel is. Oh my God, that is so nice. But let's go back out to the car hole and I will show you the pile that the 17 degree edge made. Here you go. And here we go. All right. That's the pile of cardboard that was generated on the 17 degrees per side edge bevel. That's a lot. That's more than 2.5 times, what the factory edge did. It is impressive. Okay, so you guys see, that was over 2.5 times the amount that we did on the factory edge. The 17 degree per side edge bevels love cardboard. They go through it like a bucket of hot damn. But like, we did a lot with that. So let's go over the timeline of events there, because that was definitely a much more hardcore run. It took me a couple of live streams to finish this off. But from a 115, we started at the 115 and we went for an hour, and we got a 300 back here in the center. Towards the front center, we got a 253. So we started just testing the areas that were taking the worst wear and doing the cut through the paper. We'd find the first good snag, mark it, and test there. And then test a little further up where the cuts started rather than where the cuts finished. So we went for another hour. We hit a 445 back here in the center and a 360 up here in the front center. So at the 3 hour mark in the center, we hit a 497, and towards the front center, we hit a 439. Let's go to page 2. Okay, so the next hour we found a 633 in the center, which didn't seem right, but front center, we found a 471, so that lined up. At the 5 hour mark, the worst we could find was a 560 back here in the center and a 515 up front. We went for another hour. At the 6 hour mark, we found a 541 towards the center. We found a 463. We found a 542 front center. There was a spot that was far worse than that I just couldn't find, because after 30 minutes, we poked around a little bit and tested quite a few areas, and we found the bad spot at 642 back here in the center. That 642 is a devastated edge, and that is where we started getting this mess on the cuts right here. You can see, like, these cuts, that is a devastated edge. It is completely shot. But we sharpened this thing, and we got her down to a 93. Let's get the last little scrap of this flyer paper out. Oh man, we pulled a curlicue on that. Like, I don't think you guys know if you haven't done it yourself, but this flyer paper is real hard to pull a curlicue on. But we got her sharp. This M390 took one hell of an edge. Now let's break out the edge sharpness tester and let's get a number that's not quite the same. But again, a little bit of variance from area to area because you're testing an area as wide as the test clip's wire is thick. So let's get a fresh test clip out. And you guys kindly provided the sharpness tester through your super chat donations, your channel memberships, what have you. I am very grateful for the support. Thank you for that. Now, if you haven't seen how one of these works, it measures the number of grams of force it takes to cut through the wire on this calibrated test clip. Everyone stand back. I'm arming the boy. All right, come close. It's safe. It's safe. Let's wipe off any paper dust because, like, even a little bit of paper dust on the edge will make a little bit of a difference. And we got a 100. So, like, these numbers are really good. It takes, it's very rare that I get below 100 or even down below 120 on my edges. This definitely sharpened up nicely. And of course, if it wouldn't be me if I didn't ding the plunge line just a little bit. Like this one, I hit the plunge line far less frequently than on other knives I've done, but I always hit the plunge line. And that's off the Worksharp Precision Adjust Professional. Hashtag not sponsored, get at me Worksharp. But, you know, this thing took one hell of an edge. Now, over the course of that, once the ergonomics started biting me, they really started biting me. And up in here, these are chamfered. There's that $5 word again, folks. But, you know, there's a chamfer on it, there's a bevel, and that definitely made it hold up for a while. But once it started digging in, you can see where I'm gripping right here. This part of my finger right here really started to hotspot like crazy. It took a while to get there, and, you know, like I said, we broke this up over 3 live streams because my work schedule changed, and I wasn't capable of doing the long, full-on, crazy hardcore live stream that I normally do. I'm still adjusting, but, you know, we broke this up over 3 live streams, and all 3 times, once the hotspot started, they got pretty bad. And I think this is kind of a combination of the edge right here is not super hard. It's not a 90, but it is a little bit hard. And of course the sheer amount of use that I put it through. So, I mean, this thing is really cool. And like, there's been some debate. Like, I call this a gimmick, and I don't mean gimmick in a bad way. You know, I am a sucker for a good gimmick. A lot of people take gimmick to be a bad word right out of the gate without really giving it much thought. But, you know, in this case, it's a really good thing. You know, it's something new to help sell it. It's something new brought to the market that something else doesn't have. Like, it is embellished with an extra feature. So, you know, like, I'm a sucker for this. And again, like, I carried this thing. It did really well. The only gripes I had were, you know, again, the hard angle on the dingus end right here on the butt end. And of course, the hard angles on the little plate right here that you screw down to switch it to automatic mode. So, I mean, overall, I am thoroughly impressed with this thing being a first outing from Worksharp. They really did a lot of research and development. There's only a couple small things that got overlooked, which are, you know, these are things that a lot of other people might not notice, but these are things that I'm actively looking for because I'm trying to review these things. You know, these are things that I'm actively looking for, and, you know, it's again, it may not be a problem for you. You may never notice it, but these are details that I'm trying to suss out so that I can share with you the most comprehensive information I possibly can. So, you know, do with that information what you will. It may not bother you, it may bother you, but, I mean, you know, Worksharp, if you guys see this, this is something to take a look at. This is not as big of a deal, but it is noticeable. But this right here for me, that was a bit of a constant headache. You know, like that definitely rubbed and scraped right along here, and it wasn't comfortable. But, you know, like I said, for a first outing, for the first time they're releasing a knife, and they're coming out of the gate swinging this hard, I am impressed. Like I said, this is one of my favorite knives in the collection now. I absolutely love this thing. You know, like I said, the gripes I have are very tiny, and I'm pretty sure those are problems that are only going to be localized to a few people that notice it. I could be wrong, but I think only a handful of people are going to notice it. So, yeah. I can't think of a lot else to add. You know, the cardboard slayer session was really good. The M390 holding up for 6.5 hours of cutting and making a pile of cardboard that damn big, I am very, very happy with. Whenever we start doing this, a lot of steels over the first hour will take a lot of edge degradation, and I get worried just a little bit because I've been burned by stuff that's had bad heat treatments and stuff quite a bit. Once this edge stabilized and it got to where it was comfortable at the 17-degree edge, it wore out very slowly, a little inconsistently. Numbers kind of hopped around a little bit, but it wore out slowly and it ate a ton of cardboard before it finally let go. And that factory edge, it did really good too. Like, it looks like they did a good job of not burning the edge when they sharpened this thing. The heat treatment's solid, so that the amount of time it spent cutting on the factory edge for a super steel or a higher end steel, depending on how you approach this, I am thoroughly impressed. Like I said, like RMX, MagnaCut, a couple other like higher end steels, they went 30-45 minutes and the edge gave out on the factory edge. Once we sharpened it to 17 degrees per side, it really took off and showed us what it was made of. But yeah, I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed. But, I can't think of a lot else to add before I'm just trying to pad out the runtime. So, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We got live stream, regular videos. There's plenty of activities. Comments, I love some feedback. Let me know what you think about this performance or anything else. Of course, I've got my Amazon shop linked off. You don't have to use it, but it's the best way I've discovered to show you cool stuff that I've found in the last couple of months. So have at it. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.